Hello, welcome to week 3 of the freebie challenge. This is the last part for August, and I have absolutely no idea what's going to come in September yet, so hopefully I can come up with an idea fairly quickly. It will probably come in the second week of September. So today's freebie is 2 options for covers, and then we have 3 little elements that can go onto the covers and some labels. Quite simple. It is a very straightforward make today. I will try possibly to make it a little bit more complicated for one of them. So let's get started. I'm going to start with, all of these look the same. This one. This is the single zine that we put together with our little pockets, and it's obviously got 4 pages like so. So I'm going to use the middle of my zine here, and I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to poke in 2 holes like that, one at the top, one at the bottom. Maybe I've come in 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom, and for this one I'm going to use both cover options. And the first thing I'm going to do is glue these together. Just glue that, and then I'm going to line these 2 pieces up and glue them. Now I might have a little bit of trimming to do once I've folded this up, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I've got my camera in a rather funny angle. It is literally that far from my face, so while I give this a second to dry, I'm just going to rearrange my camera slightly. So now what I want to do is just decide what I want on the outside, whether I want those to match or whether I want something different. And I'm going to go for it this way round. So I'm going to fold it in half with that in the middle. Now it's going to take a little bit of burnishing, because I have used, as always with these thicker pieces, I've used heavyweight matte photo paper. The book itself was made with the photo quality, which is much thinner and easier to use, but this is a cover, so I wanted it to have a little bit of bulk and stability. So we're going to ink around the edges, and I've got a nice new walnut stain. I don't know what happened to the last one, but it did not re-ink very well, so I think it dried out a little bit too much. Ink around there and here. Now I'm going to put this in, open to the center, roughly line this up so it's in the center, and I'm just going to use those holes that I made as a guide and pierce the holes through my cover. So I'm using a pre-waxed thread. I did want to use the ivory. I'm going to thread my needle. I'm going to go in from the outside. They're no longer lined up, so I'm just going to find my hole. Come through. This is very, very simple. It's just a literal 2-hole pamphlet stitch. Pull that through. Remove my needle. I've got my pin cushion just over there. And I'm going to tie this in a knot. Now I had intended on using this thread and waxing it myself, because I love this thread, and I appear to have lost my waxing bar. I'm not sure where I would have put that. It was in the tin with my needles, but it's no longer there. So now this stuff is great because it does hold for you while you tie your knot. And you can decide whether you leave this long, short, add charms. You could tie it off on the inside if you would rather. But that is now tied up, and we have our cover. So can you remember we had a few of our little pockets spare? You could now glue a pocket to the inside, which I'm going to do very quickly. Again, keeping it extremely simple, because this is just our single signature zine. So actually, I think I'm going to put the pocket at the back. I'm not going to put it at the front. That's my printer turning itself off. Now, what we could do is take a couple of these little cards and just pop into that back pocket. I'm going to grab the little label that says field notes. Just ink the edge of that. Glue that into place. And that's it. Very, very simple for our single page zine. So that's that. Now for the second one, we have our double zine. So we glued this together in the middle, which was a bit of a big mistake. I've realised that. However, got a workaround. This particular cover I'm going to do in a different way. I'm going to take two the same and just going to ink these up. So on this one, I'm going to burnish those edges down really well. Now, what this is going to be is this is going to be our front cover, and this is going to be our back cover. So what I need to do is enclose either a piece of fabric or a piece of cardstock or paper, whatever you choose, just down this spine. And I found, hoping it's going to work, this green linen. I think it was some clothing of some sort. So I'm going to tear it to height, and I'm just using the book itself for the height. So that's more than high enough. And I just need to cut a little bit, maybe, let's say 1.5 inches wide. Lovely. So you could decide whether you add this to you could have it like that, or you could encase it on the inside. This is probably more difficult than I need to make it, but this is going to be my back cover. So it's going to attach to this side of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a bead of glue down that part of my cover. I'm not sure whether I'm going to sew now or later. I'm just going to hold that in place, glue that into place. Right. So now I've got that like that. I'm just going to lay that down and line the edge of my zine up with the edge of that cover like that. I'm not going to put any pressure on it. This is going to be my front cover. So what I'm going to do is run a bead of glue down that side, down that edge. I'm going to line my cover up with the one underneath. I'm putting the pressure here, and I'm going to fold over my fabric. Now I'm going to put some pressure on, but only after I've folded that over. Now, I've actually glued my cover on back to front. That banner is supposed to be at the bottom. That's the right way up. This is upside down. It's not a huge issue. It's not a huge issue. So what I can now do is take that out. So now I just need to decide whether I am gluing these down. Right. I think I'm going to sew the whole lot. So I'm going to glue these down. Okay, so that's our little cover. Now, what I was going to do is just sew once in the middle, but I've glued that middle page shut. So, yeah, I'm just going to add some stitching. I'm such a muppet. It's me saying I've put it on upside down, but it's not actually attached yet, is it? So I can just turn it round. So it's now the right way up again. Honestly. Oh, it's the week I've had. Honest. Right. Now that's the right way up. We could put this in here like so. Honestly, I'm dropping everything. So we're back to the black, I'm afraid. And this time I am going to stitch on to the inside. So I'm just going to pull myself off just going to pull myself. I can't find my wax. I have no idea where that has hidden itself. But I think it's just having a little joke with me. So I'm going to grab the black. We'll stick with the black. Get that ready. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky because I want my holes to line up. Just add my holes to one of my little signatures. Same scenario, about an inch from the top and an inch from the bottom. I'm going to turn that over, open this part of the zine, and then this time I'm going to go from the outside in so they line up. So can you see I've got my two holes here and here, and they do line up. I'm going to open this to where my cover is, to where my holes are, and push through that spine. Now, before I do the next one, I'm going to sew this. So from the inside to out, and then from the outside in. And I'm going to tie that off just in a double knot. Open that out. Now I'm just going to line up my awl with the hole and close that, and then put that through. And then again, same with the next hole, line that up and then push that through. I should have got this prepared, ready. So let's find that hole again. So now I'm going to go through, get that needle lined up, and then I'm going to close that slightly just to make sure I get that hole even. And then I can just see where that hole is. Back in. It's a little bit fiddly, I'm not going to lie, just a bit, but we're there. Tie that up, and this is where we notice that it won't close. So we've got our 4 little threads, and our spine is in there. It's not perfectly even, but it's not bad. It's not bad. If you risk it, you could try stapling it, or you could actually try using some fabric glue. I decided I was going to use the fabric for my spine, and that's my book so far. I don't know if I'm going to add dangles to this, so I'm going to leave that for now. What I am going to do is decorate the front of my cover. So I'm going to start with these 3 little pieces. I'm just going to rough the edges of these up quite a bit. Grab some of my cheesecloth. A bit there. Got a bit here. I'm going to use this as my back piece, and I'm going to attach this to that, and then this one is going to go in the middle. So I just need to line that up roughly where I want that to go, and just pretty much guesstimate where I want my glue. I might be a little bit out. Just want to make sure that's going to fit. Yep. Right. I'm going to have a little bit of cheesecloth at the top here and down here. So I'm going to turn that over. Add some glue this side. Now I've added my glue to the back of this, and we're just going to plonk that down. Maybe just make sure we've got a little bit of curl. Just make sure that looks a little bit tatty. Now I would like to use FieldZine because that's exactly what we're making. So I'm going to cut out that label. But depending on what you're using this for, you can use the observation, you can use the notes. There's several options of what you could name yours. Give that a little ink. More glue. I'm just going to tuck that there, like that. I'm going to grab my little zine and then add our little tatty image to the front. Just going to turn that over, put some pressure on that. And that's our little zine. I'm really happy with it. And then of course we've got all our little pockets, envelopes, images, notes. I did actually go ahead. I did go ahead and make all my little notes in mine. Now I'm going to grab a good old piece of sari silk and tie that closed. So we have our very, very basic version. It does need something to close that, to be fair. And we have our posher, more elaborate version, which is not as elaborate as it could be. There's still a lot more you could do with this. So I hope you liked today's little episode. Very, very easy. You could do this in so many ways. The cover, for example, if you wanted to keep this even more simple, you could print onto the back and literally just use this as a cover like that. You don't have to double it up. I just thought it would make it a little bit more interesting. But that's it. Week 3 done. Thank you for joining me. Please share your makes because we would love some of them to be in the next issue of the Foxy Rag. It's been really nice being able to share other people's work. We will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.